think we'll get started. Welcome to our June 18th Town Board meeting. It's public hearing is sworn testimony, and 9D is being deferred to a later time. So I'd like to call a meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And tonight, the invocation will be given by Pastor Horace Ferguson, who's often, people look at him and say he thinks he's the mayor. I'm flattered by that, by the way. From the Holly Springs United Methodist Church.
You should be flattered.
I am flattered. I am, but I will. I beat you though. You're on, Parker.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Dick Sears and I go back a long ways when this town was first beginning to show some quiver of new life. And I came here as Methodist minister and was in that little capacity for 23 years and working in psychiatric rehab also with state government. But I remember how we wanted stuff like everybody else, so we didn't have to go to Washington, to Cary or Apex.
Yep.
And I remember the celebratory attitude of people in town when we got our first grocery store, Food Lion. And so I was there one day as they were unpacking and organizing that store, and later was there to pick up a few things. And Molly had sent Dick up there to pick up a few things, and he, not knowing, went up to Food Lion, new to him, and he got to the door, and there was a sign that said, no food or drinks inside.
Well, here we go. I'm getting set up here. I see it
So
coming.
Dick turned around, got in his car, and went back home to Molly.
I went back to Cary.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, let us pray. Almighty God, guide by your wondrous Spirit these gathered in this meeting tonight, especially our governmental leaders and town staff, that we may be united in your truth, that we may serve together in the spirit of your love and reveal your glory to this community. Guide our leaders, we pray, in the ways of justice, peace, unity, and honor. Direct their purposes and guide their deliberations, that their thoughts and plans and words and actions may be in clear concert with your holy will for Holly Springs and its flourishing future. In all actions taken here, may we acknowledge you as the source of our successes, our substance, and ourselves. With gratitude for your guidance now, may our grateful hearts and eyes always rest upon you. In thy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. In case you ever ask who gave the dedication to Town Hall about 100 years ago, wasn't it, Horace? Something like that? You just look at the man who did it. I still have it on the wall in the office, remember? Okay. Item number 4, adjustment and approval of the June 18th, 2019 meeting agenda. Mayor Pro Tem.
Motion to adopt the June 18, 2019 meeting with the following changes. Postpone item 9D to a later meeting and add item 6A, recognition of Kiara Leslie, which I believe she is just outside.
Walking in the door.
Correct.
All right.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item number 5, public comment period. First person up, I'm going to open it up now, is Michelle. Is it Gallant? Did I say it right? If I didn't, I'm sorry. Again, try to keep your comments to about 3 minutes, please.
council members. 1 week ago today, our beloved black lab, Kirby, ran into the street and was run over and dragged about 50 feet and killed, basically instantly, by a suspected speeding True Green landscaping truck. It was devastating to our family, as well as our neighbors and their children who were outside when this happened. On a regular basis, we walk to Wombles, we walk downtown, we walk along the street. Children play outside in our driveways, ride their bicycles. Children are being walked to the parks in strollers, people walking their dogs. And day and night, we see people speeding. And the speed limit in Remington, which is right around the corner from here, is 20 miles per hour. Although you wouldn't know it, folks are constantly going at least, I would say, double that. I've lived in Remington for 3 years. Shortly after we moved in, we noticed there was a lot of speeding going on. My son and his friends, our neighbors, were outside playing basketball when one of them ran after the ball in the street and was nearly run over by a speeding vehicle. Myself and my neighbor saw this vehicle repeatedly, alerted the police. When they took, I would say, good action at that time, they put a speeding radar detector up, which documented people going around the curve, which is when they're actually slowed down, 40 to 41 miles per hour. This is a residential street where children are frequently out playing. People are walking their dogs. There are a lot of new families, including myself, with young children, walking them in strollers to Womble and all over the neighborhood. We're all trying to just keep it safe for everyone. We are requesting in the neighborhood to be speed bumps to assist the police. I know the police can't be there day and night, but I really wish they would give tickets, speeding tickets. Or thought I'd, hear myself say, please give tickets, but I would really appreciate them to do that, as well as to have speed bumps placed in the neighborhood where hopefully people will be deterred from speeding. We have a Remington Facebook page, and on there, before this happened, a mother was complaining about people running stop signs on Indian Hill Street and I think it's Red Hill Road. I live on Steeple Road, and that's where we see those 3 streets, I believe, as well as I'm sure many others, are the primary locations that you'll see these speeding vehicles. And it's day and night. It's not any particular time in general. So I'm here to ask you, please, support the police in enforcing the speed limit, not just being visible, but enforcing the speed limit by citing people that are speeding. Issue speeding tickets where it's actually going to make a difference in those people's lives, in their wallet. Speed bumps would be an enormous help to deter speeding vehicles, and I think that would be a great start, as well as those violations, speeding tickets, stop sign violations, as well as the parking issue that we maintain at the end of the street of Raleigh Street and Steeple Road. I understand that there was a petition several years ago from Remington residents asking for speed bumps to be placed, and I believe that it was unsuccessful because fire trucks would have difficulty reaching places, and it would slow them down. I can assure you the parking issue at the end of the street would slow them down. The fire hydrants are blocked, the stop signs are blocked a lot of the times. There's limited visibility, and it's very difficult to see. And I'm sure for a fire truck it'd be difficult to get through. I just don't want to see any more tragedies to happen. Due to speeding, and I think speed bumps would make a huge difference. And I'm afraid that if some action isn't taken to correct this, that there will be more tragedies for the fire department to respond to. And I don't want to see that happen because it's really devastated our family. And I know that, dogs need to be leashed, and but folks really have been breaking these speed limits continuously for years, and it's time to make a change. So thank you, and I appreciate your time and consideration for that.
Thank you. Sorry about the dog. I've had that happen
Thank you.
too, so I know what you're talking about.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Van Crandall.
Van Crandall, 4813 Salem Ridge Road, Holly Springs. Good evening. Although I am a planning board member, my comments this evening are being conveyed to the town council as a Holly Springs citizen. I am not representing the planning board or acting as its assigned representative for tonight's meeting. On the morning following the May 28th planning board meeting, I decided to clarify some information pertaining to agenda item 7B, entitled Request for Development Plan Amendment, Peterson Station at Sunset Lake. After reviewing the town council meeting video posted on the town's website, I discovered information that was not addressed at the planning board meeting. A public hearing and presentation occurred at the June 20th, 2017 town council meeting for the proposed Peterson Station project. The project was approved by the town council on that same date. On February 22nd, 2019, the town received a request for development plan amendment for Peterson Station. The town's date stamp indicates the document was received on February 22nd, 2019, and the certificate of submittal completion signature on page 2 had the same date. In the section titled Development Plan, check all that apply. Major amendment was checked. In the section titled Project Name, Peterson Station Minor Amendment was filled in. The elapsed time between the town council's approval on June 20th, 2017, and extending to the submitted request for development plan amendment on February 26, 2019, was approximately 20 months. Summary excerpts from UDO section 9.05 D6 state the following. In general, you quote, in general, a development plan approval is valid for a period of 18 months after the date of approval. Expiration, quote, if a construction drawing, ... is not submitted within such 18-month period, the development plan approval shall be null and void. D, extensions, quote, a written extension of the 18-month time limit may be granted by the town council if requested in writing by the petitioner on or before the 18-month anniversary of the development plan approval. In summary, I'm confused as to why the timeline was not addressed at the planning board meeting, and more importantly, if the original development plan had lapsed, why a fresh plan was not reviewed. Finally, conditions in tonight's town council packet is related to this agenda item states, 1, all previous conditions of approval for Peterson Station at Sunset Lake shall apply to this amendment. I am unclear if previous conditions for the Peterson Station development plan are now not potentially compatible with an amended plan. For example, recently updated ordinances as related to tree preservation and such. Thank you.
Thank you, Van.
Thanks.
Shauna, do you wish to speak? Shauna Gaunt? Yes? Yes. Did I say it right? Yeah, Sean. Okay, Sean, yeah. Thank you. Name and address, please.
How's it going? Okay, so that was my wife, Michelle.
Right.
So basically, I just want to say about kind of the same thing. It's like, it's a tragedy what happened to the dog, but
Sure.
even before that and after that now, it's like, I know there's speed bumps in other parts of the town, even like in front of Womble. Our street in particular, like in the the surrounding streets around us are real bad with the speeding. I know the police can't be there all the time, but if there were speed, at least like a speed tables, or even some more speed limit signs, that would help. They've put the speed monitor there before. Like she said, it was around the curve, so it's like where they're starting to slow down. And actually, I noticed that they actually did put one on our street. Right now, it's there right now. It's like wires that go across the street, so it doesn't display the speed, but I think it keeps track of how fast the cars are going. But even just before we came here, there was a car that was flying down my street, and I put my own sign up in my yard. It's like a little memorial thing for my dog with like a neon poster board that says slow down. So a lot of people like slow down just to recognize that, or I literally have to stand at the end of my street because we don't have sidewalks in our neighborhood, or at least not, not all of it. And like, I'll stand there and tell people to slow down. And a lot of people don't even look because they're just not paying attention. But even where that monitor is right now, it's like, so that lady's flying down the road, but then she slows down around the curve, and that's where they're registering the speed. It's like right after the curve, so it's not even really a true gauge, So I really don't know what can be done, except for maybe the speed bumps would help, or the police presence enforcing the speed. But I know surrounding neighborhoods, I'm sure, have the same problem. But that's pretty much all I have to say about it.
The police have a form online, and I can send it to you.
Okay.
They need this information.
Yeah, well, we've been calling lately, and my neighbors too, and I could go on and on here about different instances with different neighbors. A lot of people have said they've tried for speed bumps in the past, and it didn't happen. But we're just here to at least maybe start it in motion if we could.
I'll bring it up to John Herring too. He's not here tonight, but
Okay.
Chief of Police.
Because it's a dog, and I understand the dog ran out on the road, but like there's people like walking. It's downtown. People walk to the farmer's market. People walk with their strollers.
Sure.
I could be walking. Oh, we have a baby that's here, and we walk with a stroller. And a lot of people just don't. They don't even. Not only do they not slow down, they just go even faster as they're going, and it's dangerous. At least I feel like if there was speed bumps, they would have to slow down somewhat. But thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
At this point in time, we'll close the public hearing, and there's a little surprise tonight. There is a star in our house. Kira Leslie. I think most of you know, she graduated from Holly Springs High School. In fact, I think I was there. That was what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Something like that. She's a graduate of North Carolina State. Go Wolfpack, right? She is currently a professional basketball player in the WNBA. She was born and raised in Holly Springs. She's a 2014 graduate of Holly Springs High School, as I said. She won Player of the Year in District 5 in 2013. She started her collegiate career and attended the University of Maryland for 3 years before transferring to NC State. She played the position of guard. That was my position, but it was a little different in those days, height-wise. Anyway, for 2 seasons at North Carolina State and as a graduate student, she was drafted in the first round of the 2019 WNBA by the Washington Mystics. And was the 10th overall pick. She is also the sister of somebody we had here several years back. I remember that. Sister of former Wolfpack men's basketball player C.J. Leslie. You probably know him. Remember when he was here? So if you want to come forward for a minute, I have a proclamation as kind of a gift for you. And also you may want to say a few words. You can. I think your mom is here too. Am I correct? How about your coach? Is he here tonight? But the mom is. Why don't you bring her up too so we can give her applause? Now, which one is the mother? Congratulations.
Sure you do. Come on. Come on.
Well, I'm not here. So, thank you. Let's give them both a hand. They don't. Oh, picture.
Yeah.
Go. Hang on just a second, because I think our Mayor Pro Tem is going to come and stand with them too. I want to see how tall he is with them. Oh, come on.
I had an opportunity to watch her play basketball in high school where I played on JV, and the adversity that she had major injuries in the course of her high school and college career, and to get drafted, in the top 10. I was watching it live. I think we were expecting maybe a later round, and when we saw the video with her coach, and the excitement on being picked number 10, it was amazing. It was amazing. And it's from Holly Springs, and to see that, a resident here, it's excelling in basketball, which I love. And to see that and take it to the next level is incredible. So again, congratulations. Yeah.
There you go. New York Times.
It didn't, hurt anything that she wasn't a great student too.
There you go.
Just saying. And like Councilman O'Brien said, I've known the Leslies for quite a while. Very good to my family, and I just enjoyed watching you at the high school. And not only was she a great player, a great student, made us all laugh, kept things light, and was really, really a good mentor to the other girls there. To watch her and to do what she did, the way she acted and carried herself, and the respect she had for her teammates and her coach and for herself was just phenomenal. And I'm just so excited that this is all happening for you. You only deserve everything. And then she had the greatest coach, right?
I wondered when that was coming. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Well, I will say one.
Okay, please.
Well, I will say that she really, really worked hard. To give her undergrad in 3 years, she worked hard. She had a injury, I think, at the end of her sophomore year where she broke her ankle. So one of the things she said was that she was going to make something positive come out of this. So she hit the books hard, and so she got her undergraduate degree from the University of Maryland in 3 years. So, and then she just got her master's, I think a couple weeks ago.
Congratulations. Thanks.
Congrats.
Appreciate.
Thanks, Dick.
You weren't quite that tall, Bill Moses. That's right, so I didn't go down there. You really want to know. All right, another 6A, recognitions, proclamation of July as Park and Recreation Month. We're going to have a proclamation that celebrates July in the park. And since 1985, that was a little bit after I was born, America has celebrated July as Park and Recreation Month, a program for national recognition and park association. This year's theme for Parks and Recreation Month is one of my favorites, called Game On. And all month long, we will be celebrating the fun and the games that our Parks and Recreation Department provides to our citizens. To that point, Rachel Downey, I thought I saw you. Are you here, Rachel? All right, well, would you like to come up? This is Leanne Plummer. I've known her as General Plummer. And I guess you did, what did you tell me once? You were, not that you were a general, but you knew a general.
My husband, his ancestry says he's related to a general, but I can't remember.
General Lee, wasn't it? No, you don't. So with that, This is the proclamation to take back.
Very much.
And if you want to say anything?
Yeah, well, I just want to remind everybody,
Oh, go to
Parks
Mike.
and Recreation is here in your community. So come out, enjoy a park, go on a greenway, take a class at the Cultural Center, or visit Bass Lake, or visit the Hunt Center. Watch us, our social media and website in July. We're going to be adding a couple of special events for folks to get out Fridays in July to take advantage of our programs and services to celebrate Parks and Recreation Month. So thank you all and enjoy the parks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item 7A, this is sworn testimony. Economic Prosperity Special Exception Use 19-SEU-03-303 West Arp Street. And it'd be Sean Ryan, Planning and Zoning, and Rachel Jones, Engineering. Oh, Sean.
Hey, good evening, Council. Sean Ryan with the Department of Planning and Zoning. The agenda item tonight is a request for a special exception use for a single-family dwelling unit in the Village District area. Tonight, we will conduct a quasi-judicial public hearing, and then you'll have a motion for the findings of fact for the special exception use. The property is located at 303 West Arp Street, which is just east of the intersection with Collins Street. As you can see in the image on the screen on the left-hand side, this is a snapshot from our Village District Area Plan. This property is highlighted in the purple-pink color. It is designated for residential land uses, and as you can see, the surrounding area is also designated with that same residential zoning or land use designation. On the right-hand side of the screen is the current zoning of the property. As you can see, it is zoned R15, which is a residential zoning district. And surrounding properties are also zoned R15 residential in the yellow and R8 residential in the light tan color. This is the proposed plot plan and proposed building elevations. The request is for approximately 2,400 square feet total for the house, with room for a future garage in the back. The house will front Arp Street and will have a driveway along the side. And these are the proposed building elevations for the front using durable materials such as shakes and hardy plank siding, and it does feature a front porch as well. With that, I will invite our Planning Board representative, Mr. Carpico, up to go through the Planning Board review of this project.
Hi, Ernie. How you doing?
Planning Board voted to approve this 9-0. We didn't have any problem with it. The only issue we talked about was the tree ordinance. There are no trees on this property, so it didn't come into play. So we fully supported it.
Any questions, Ernie? Probably not. Thanks, sir. This point in time?
Yep.
This point in time, we'll open the public hearing, but we'll also close the public hearing because no one signed up.
The applicant is here tonight if you
Sure.
would like to hear testimony from him.
Please.
Please. Name and address, please, for the record.
Sure, my name is Jason Brown. My address is 5804 Cleome Court in Holly Springs. So, yeah, just a single-family home we'd like to build there. That's the house plan we plan on building. That's pretty
Any
simple,
questions for-
pretty straightforward.
Any questions for the developer?
Did you build the ones that are like next door to that one and the one down? There's a couple newer ones that are on that same block.
No, we did not.
I did not. Okay.
He's got active projects on
Oh,
Grigsby
yeah.
right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we're doing
No,
the two on Grigsby. Yeah, we
Yeah.
did sell the lots to that builder who built those others.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate all your investment in our downtown and some of these residential projects you're bringing. I think this is like your 5th or 6th one that I've seen.
Yeah,
So thanks for continuing to do that. I think it's awesome for our downtown.
Yeah, thank you.
Other questions or comments? You're good.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks.
At this point in time, anything else, Sean? Any further discussion or comments? Looking good?
Yes.
All right, someone want to tackle one motion?
Motion to make and accept the findings of fact and approve special exception use 19-SEU-03 for 303 West Earp Street with the conditions stated in the packet.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item 8A, the consent agenda, Mayor Pro Tem.
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you, Tom. Agenda item 9A, under new business, major amendment to development plan 16-DP-17-A01, or A02, excuse me. Peterson Station at Sunset Lake. Sean, you're back. Or you're still here.
Yes. So the request that is before you tonight is to review modifications to the architectural elevations for the Peterson Station project. So the order of action tonight would be to hear the item from staff, hear from the applicant, and then there will be a resolution for some waivers, as well as a motion on the development plan amendment. Just to reorient the town council as to where the project is located, it's located east of the intersection of Stevenson Road and Sunset Lake Road, up in the northeast portion of the town of Holly Springs jurisdiction. The dark gray line on the bottom of your screen here is the 540 corridor, so it is just north of the 540 corridor. This is the site plan for the project. You can see most of the buildings are clustered up close to the intersection of Sunset Lake Road and Stevenson Road. So these are the mixed-use buildings here along the thoroughfare with the residential buildings behind. These are the previously approved elevations with the project, just to help you recall what the original proposal was. These are the mixed-use buildings, so this would be Sunset Lake Road along the bottom of the screen here, and you can see the four-story apartment buildings to the back. And this is what the applicant is proposing to modify the elevations to. You can see they've selected a variety of materials, brick, stone, hardy plank siding, as well as board and batten siding, and they've changed the color palette of the building as well. And this is just an elevation view of one of the residential buildings. They have removed the standalone garage buildings that used to be at the property and incorporated those garages into the residential units themselves. So there are several waivers that go along with these modifications. Facade materials, colors, roof treatment, facade massing, and facade modulation. I will let the applicant speak to more specifics if you have questions about the waivers. And at this time, I will invite our planning board representative back up to discuss the discussion on this item.
Hogan?
Okay, the planning board on this, we're discussing 6 waivers for the major design changes. And the consensus was of the board that all of these elevations are much improved over the previous design. We talked about the fact that the open space has not changed with this plan. The plan has shifted significantly, but the open space has remained the same. One thing we talked about was addressing to the applicant if they could somehow maybe make the street, I think the northwest corner of the street appearance seems a bit massive, sort of like the Queen Mary or something. We wonder if you could make it look a little bit more inviting, more open to the public instead of the current. And they were agreeable to address that, and so I'm not sure if they're going to bring that up later, but we thought they could do a little bit better job of making it look more a better appearance to invite the public in. Of course, we talked about the TIA, which we always do, and the TIA, which was done in 2015, and we were wondering, we had discussion about whether or not that was still accurate, just something that we talked about. We were advised that there will be a signalized intersection there that we were unaware of initially when the applicant first presented, but that corner will be a signalized intersection. The vote was 8-0, and one person on the board was recused, so 8-0.
Questions?
What was the recusal for?
That person lived almost adjacent to the property and felt they were a little too close to really, objectively look at it.
Okay. Anything else? Good.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
For now, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Just to go over the planning board motions again, it was 8-0 on the waivers and then 7-1-1 on the development plan with Mr. McGrath dissenting.
Okay.
And with that, I would like to invite the applicant up to go through their presentation.
Come on down. Seems like we've seen you before. but still you got to do the name and address.
Sure. Laura Holloman with the Spalding Group, 1611 Jones Franklin Road, Suite 101, Raleigh, 27606. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good to be back. Thank you for allowing a chance for us to speak tonight on the changes on this development plan, Peterson Station. The elevation specifically is what we're here to discuss. So this is looking at the northeast intersection of Peterson Station, and this is what we originally requested to be reviewed and what staff has reviewed. In my original planning board overview discussion, we talked about how, I think everyone was excited about the mixed-use development in this area. It's predominantly residential right now, and there really isn't a lot of walkable pedestrian activity as you go down the Shops of Wood Creek, transitioning along Sunset Lake Road. But, one thing that we did hear was, do you really love the contemporary design of those buildings? Is it really what you want to do? But, we talked about it. We had great discussions with the neighbors at that time, with staff, with planning board and town council, and it was approved as it was. Since then, the project team has shifted a bit and has taken, a second, third, 10th, 100th look at this thing and really tried to improve it for the surrounding community. Everyone knows, why this is such a critical project for the town. It's the Northeast Gateway. It's right there at the entrance of town at the intersection of Stevenson and Sunset Lake. So really you want to have a high quality development that is still respectful of the surrounding area. And we think this does a lot better job than the previous design did. We've incorporated more brick and stone accents. We've also increased the length of glazing and increased the square footages of the retail in the bottom to make it more inviting to both the pedestrian along Sunset Lake Road and behind it in the parking lot, because these will be dual entrance. So you can come in from Sunset Lake Road and you can come in from the rear parking area. So we've tried to make that invited. We've also added awnings, more awnings, as well as heightened, created a kind of a clean, modern, but modern cap, while also meeting the requirement of providing a distinctive cap. So we have the same intentions of meeting the base body and cap requirements. And really, it's the uniqueness of this mixed use that's causing some of those waivers. On the multifamily waivers, which speak to the colors, is because multifamily buildings have different requirements than the commercial buildings, and really just trying to match and do a more cohesive design to where it matches the commercial buildings in the front. So these are the changes that have changed as a result of the planning board feedback. And I'll put these before and after so you can see the differences. So what we've done is we heard a lot of reasons that, this was along the corner. It didn't really create any kind of focal point or inviting at the corner. So what we've done is we've enhanced this cap and made it a lot more of a focal point. We've also, instead of kind of having an expansive awning, we've broken those up along the windows to kind of create some dimension. We've also added more variation in materials. We've added kind of acknowledging that this will be a pedestrian entrance. We've chosen to elongate the awning right here. And we've also added some additional color dimensions along the balconies, where before it was just just that dark kind of grayish black color, and we've added some dimension there as well to really kind of add some dimension and make it look as less expansive as possible, while still trying to be conscious of the fact that it is an apartment building that matches the existing unit count as before. We haven't changed what the original unit count was. It still remains the same. And I'll let the project team behind me speak to the thought process behind it and what their thought process was introducing this new design. 2 years ago, a lot of you were in the town in some capacity. There's a lot of you there's some of you that were on town council, others were on planning board, others were very interested citizens that came, and everyone is familiar with this. One of the things that I think that y'all have done that's different than when this originally approved is y'all have adopted a strategic plan that sets in place where the town's development wants to go and where it's guided. And I spent some time this afternoon reading that and outlining for myself the goals of the plan and how it speaks to our plan. One of those is economic prosperity and diversity. This plan diversifies economics in Holly Springs. We're adding some much needed non-residential and in an area where it's going to be very helpful to have neighborhood scale development in an area that doesn't have a lot. Also as an engaged, healthy, and active community. This is going to be a very pedestrian-friendly, walkable, mixed-use design that Holly Springs, I think I'm excited about because there's other projects coming that are looking to this and saying, well, if Peterson Station can do it, we can do it too. And there's been a lot of chatter about creating more of that. Town Hall Commons came in right after this. And we've seen what a great project that is right next door. And I think it'll continue to take off. We're voluntarily connecting the sidewalk from this project all the way to Sunset Point. So this is going to be a very active and engaging community that promotes walkability. Also, in regards to the third, which is responsible and balanced growth, in that it talks about sustainable growth. Well, I was curious and I Googled sustainable growth today because I know what it means to me, but I wanted to see what an unbiased industry definition was. And I kept getting back thoughtful design, which I thought, okay, well, what is thoughtful design and how does this meet thoughtful design? Well, thoughtful design to me means thinking about the adjacent residences around you. These buildings, a lot of this was made possible by the fact that we eliminated 25-foot and some 25-foot retaining walls that were adjacent to that back retention pond that Sunset Point would have been looking at. So what we did is we even more so let the existing topography work with this and not try to have the long expansive buildings in the back that we had the first go round. And that allowed us to eliminate retaining walls. We also eliminated, as Sean mentioned, the individual garages that were on the perimeter that just, at the end of the day, maybe looked like one-story storage units. And we've created, I think I looked at this, I looked this up today. The old buildings, the storage, the one-story garages, they were 128 feet from the closest Sunset Point residence. The closest building today in this design is 388 feet. So we're trying to be cognizant of Sunset Point and both these neighbors and those neighbors. We've also I mentioned the sidewalk connections. I think that's thoughtful. This design also, we've increased the plazas and sidewalk areas along Sunset Lake Road as well as behind, because we really, as you all know, with downtown and Town Hall Commons, the retail is so dependent on passerby traffic, and everybody wants to see people stopping, benches, tables, and we really need to have that room to show everyone what an exciting place this is to sit down, have a drink, have a cup of coffee, meet your neighbors. So that was a change also with this design that we incorporated. So that, to me, starts to think about thoughtful design. Also, we touched on, Planning Board brought up the TIA. The signal was something that the town wanted but couldn't require because it was a DOT street. That was something that the developer voluntarily went through and did a warrant analysis and lobbied for successfully to get at this intersection because they knew it was a desperate need. So that also, to me, when I think about safe, friendly, you think about putting in the traffic improvements that may not be warranted, but is a good faith effort to do. It also will have a dedicated right turn lane off of Sunset Lake Road onto Stevenson. That's much needed. We're also doing both a left and right dedicated lane off of Stevenson onto Sunset Lake, which is much needed because right now, as you all know, that anyone that travels, that backs up a long way right now. So that's something that we're doing. We're also improving at the intersection of Smith and 1010 and doing designated turn lanes all the way at that intersection, which is actually in Cary. But we're also improving that intersection because DOT and the developer acknowledged that was a needed improvement. So I think together with all those things, I think it shows that that this really does meet the intent of the strategic plan. We had hoped to get this going sooner, but we're still here. We've just, I think, evolved this into a more thoughtful and high quality design. And with that, I'll turn it over to my other team players. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. I'm Wayne Davis with Tydro Group, 532 Pylon Drive, Raleigh, North Carolina, 27606. We're a construction management and owners representation company. We're very, very proud to represent this project. We've put a lot of thought, effort, and work into bringing you, to me, something that, that Mr. Peterson is willing to put his name on. So I think hopefully you see the amount of thought that we put into it, that this is going to be a very walkable, livable community that is something that you can be proud of as residents of Holly Springs, that when you drive down Sunset Lake Road and you see this project, I think it's going to be something you're proud of. I know I am very proud of it. As far as some of the concerns I think we addressed, I did. Queen Mary, is that what you said? It's a beautiful ship. But I do think, and I hope you agree, that the changes we made to the elevation on the corner are significant and address some of those concerns. So we did the best we could. And back to the original, some of the things that we added to the project, specifically things that Sean has already brought up, but I want to emphasize how important I think those are. The elimination of, I think originally it was a 35-foot high retaining wall that faced the neighbors. I know that that's a major improvement in eliminating that. Eliminating those garages and integrating them into the base of the residential buildings on the back side allowed us to leave all that open space, increase the distance to the neighboring houses. I think that's a major improvement and a good neighbor. So As far as any other questions, love to address them. Again, we're very proud of this neighborhood or this development and looking forward to being a partner in Holly Springs.
Okay, questions?
I have a few. What's the percentage of commercial in this project?
It's 40,000 square feet of commercial property, mixed use, mixture of residential, restaurants and residential. I don't have the total square footage. 15%, thank you.
15%, okay.
Okay.
And you talked about being good neighbors. Did you go back to talk to the neighbors about what this looks like? Because it's significant change, I think, to the design.
No, we have not. We'd like to meet with the HOAs, but we only made these changes in the last week. So we would like to meet with them and find out what their
Did they see
input
the
is.
before?
Pardon me? They saw the before, and from with the exception of this corner, everybody liked it.
So they saw the before of this, not the original more modern one.
Excuse me, they did see the more modern one.
So they have not seen.
They have
the
not
before.
seen this, no.
My comment when I think of the original to here, the original had more color and more lightness to it. I find this, especially when I think about going through Wood Creek or Tuscany, this seems very bricky. I think of more stone. So this looks more institutional to me, and that's why I was just wondering if the residents had any input to say that, yeah, they're on board how this direction's going.
That was actually the opposite of our intent. The old modern look looked like something for a more urban setting, less traditional, and we were going for a more traditional look, something that fit with the Holly Springs area better. So that's why we added the earth tones and we added the brick and the natural stone accents to it. So I don't know if it'll show some of those elevations here. Breaking up these monolithic colors and adding those different dissimilar materials and using, like I said, natural stone and brick to kind of soften the approach, soften the look of it, and make it more traditional, less modern. Some people said that it looked very at home in Centennial Campus, and the NC State colors go Gulfpack, but I think this fits better with the neighborhood and with the more suburban area.
Other questions?
Did the changes impact the number of residential units and the commercial
No.
square footage?
We kept, that was part of the guidelines we stayed within for the minor modifications. We kept the same number of units, the same number of parking spaces, and didn't change the overall layout of the complex.
Anything else?
Yes, in regards to the road improvements that you talked about, that would be done first before we start building?
I'm not sure we've set the phasing on that, but we definitely are going to want to make those improvements as soon as possible just to address the access to the property. We're going to be working on the buildings on the Sunset Lake and Stevenson Road first, so it makes sense that those would be along with that so we can finish those buildings first. So, yes.
There's a lot of power lines in that area. Do you guys plan to move them or put them underground?
They're going to be underground,
Underground?
correct?
Is that right?
Okay.
And this traffic light is part of our development plan. We're taking on the cost of that.
Okay.
I'm new to this project. I'm sorry, I wasn't here when it first came forward. So
It's been a while.
I only had the information that I was given to read through. So can you point out where all the retail is? The retail is just along the road, so the rest inside is all residential? Or-
Correct, yes.
Okay.
The buildings 1 and 2 that you see darkened on this slide that you're looking at now,
Right.
those are on the first level of those buildings is where the retail and restaurant space is.
Are you building those first?
Yes.
So those will be done first, and then the rest will come
Well, they're being built first, but they also take longer. So we'll definitely start on those first, but because they're a podium slab design, meaning the first level is a concrete podium over the retail, that takes longer than building the rest of the building. So we're starting them first, but only because they take longer to build. But that is our goal, is to get those finished first and start leasing those first. The premium properties, going back to the original slide, these, for instance, these 6 apartments that are on the corner, we expect to be our showcase apartments. These are going to be the highest demand, the highest quality, and we're looking forward to those being finished first and becoming the kind of the highlight and the showplace of this whole development. but they'll have these awesome views both on the front and the back. And it's going to be some really outstanding properties.
Will there be elevators in here?
Yes,
Okay,
elevators.
so each building will have an elevator?
Well, only on the front buildings on the front. On the back buildings, they are called a garden-style walk-up, but those are 3-story walk-ups. On the front buildings, the more premium ones are going to have elevators and air-conditioned corridors. But not all buildings have elevators. Any of them, the one on the front, let's see. Any of them on Stevenson Road and all the way down Sunset Lake Road do have elevators.
Anything else? Other comments?
Just looking at the original drawing, it had tables and umbrellas so people can sit outside the restaurants. With the new drawing, are you losing that space or just going to use it differently?
We're using it differently. We added more space on the plazas, as Laura mentioned, on the ground level.
Right.
Those upper level represent some significant challenges, even just ADA alone. And so it made more sense to expand the plaza space. We have simply replaced it with ground level seating, and that street side dining, plaza type dining, I'm very excited about. I know I enjoy dining outdoors, and I think that's going to add a lot of personality and attractiveness when you drive by and you see all the people sitting outside dining. I think that's going to be really exciting.
There's a lot of traffic there, right, during rush hour in the morning there. So I want to go back. The road improvements, is that something that you would do first, correct?
Yes, we're going to start it first. I don't know the timing of finishing it, but it's going to be, we got to get that done so we can get these buildings going.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
That stoplight will be a blessing. I take that quite often. And coming back from Stevenson, you take a left, you pull out on Sunset Lake Road.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's a very difficult intersection.
That's
So adding a light, we very much wanted that. I think it's
Yeah.
going to not only add safety, but accessibility. People are going to be going in. There's multiple entrances. You can actually enter the parking off of the Sunset Lakeside, or as you can see, there's an entrance to the parking on the Stevenson Road side as well. We'll set way back from the intersection, so it won't be a challenge, but all of the parking is on the backside. All of the retail in this is, as Laura mentioned, is double loaded, meaning we'll have entrances from the parking area as well as from the street side to be able to enter these restaurants and retail establishments.
Okay.
Can you explain the retaining wall going away and the parking? I'm sorry again, wasn't there the first time, and
Sure. It was multiple benefits to that. Number one, a retaining wall is ugly. I've never seen one I liked. Number two, the reason it was there was to accommodate the external garages, the detached garages for the residents to be able to use. By integrating those in the basement level of the backside of those buildings, we were able to use the topology. We didn't need to raise the land up 30 feet at the backside and level the whole thing. We basically become a better steward of the land. We use the natural topography. We're not trying to modify it. We're just using what's there for us and building the buildings on it. Since there's a slope there anyway, adding those garages under that base level just made a lot of sense. It's frankly more aesthetically pleasing, and it's a better benefit to the residents. Instead of having to walk 100 feet to get to their car, it's in the basement of the building they're in.
so what was the rationale for doing it the other way to begin with?
Not sure, I wasn't on that team.
Okay. You're picking it up after, okay. My only comment is this feels very different, and you haven't talked to any residents that have lived nearby. I was just curious it'd be great to hear that they support this change.
And I agree. We've been moving very quickly over the last few months with these changes, and I wish we had had time to speak to those residents, but I'm excited to show it to them. So far, the feedback we've gotten, even from the planning board, was all positive as far as the improvements. I appreciate your opinion. I wish that you agreed with mine.
Well, and I think and Sherry, you might have been alluding to this, is this doesn't seem to have the, and we're going through a new revision project, like that community feel. There wasn't enough like plants and people sitting there. It just seems very cold to me, and I think of like we just approved a project like Wegmans that had a lot more dimensions, and it felt like buildings. This just seems like a pretty big thing.
And I understand. I mean, I like the look of it, but being able to add a little bit more character to it. For instance, I was just saying, is some of the restaurants that do have kind of that plaza seating, or where they have the windows are like garage doors, so you can have that spring or fall, seating where they rise up and it all of a sudden opens up to the streetway. So you're eating dinner there, looking out at the street.
I would love to
walking
do
by.
that. We haven't really put a lot of design into the restaurant spaces other than the amount of space.
Right.
We've actually
I'm just saying,
purposely.
something that's a little different that breaks up your
Uh-huh.
typical, I'm not good at design type thing,
Right.
but just things that add a little bit of character, something, I know you want to keep like, a little bit of tradition, but also maybe being a little more innovative, things like that is what kind of what
More
I was thinking.
More pizzazz.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. I mean, I do like it, I do, but, I'd love to see, a little more character with it.
Well, I
And that-
think once
that
we
could be
get
done.
specific tenants identified, as far as which restaurants they're going to add their own personality to
Right,
it.
right.
One of the things that, right now is just a placeholder is the signage. We know that there's going to be an entire signage application and approval process for how that's going to look and fit in with the community. So the signage is going to add personality to it as well. As far as your idea of the open front on the restaurants, I love that idea. It's going to be up to the tenants as far as their fit out, what they want to do. But I think that would work really well with this design because of we call them plazas, but it's the wide sidewalks and allowing for outdoor dining and the type of dining you have right across the parking lot here. Those are the I guess ideas that we liked and we wanted to implement here.
You didn't bring the viewpoint from the sky. I think we saw that
Before
a couple times ago.
Oh, the flight? No, we haven't. I don't think we've done a 3D rendering like you're talking about that was
Yeah.
done on the original designs.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive. That's why I don't see quite the same. I mean, we're not looking at that.
Sunset Lake.
Like a little bit up there.
Remember that?
The brick.
With the courtyard, with the inside. Maybe not.
Yeah, to be able to see, when they showed the open space and what was
Yeah.
in that.
Yeah.
Those are the old pictures, yeah.
There we go.
So, to speak to your point, certainly this landscaping and the streetscape that was approved previously has not changed with this. So we'll still have the same raised planting beds and the street trees and the shrubs. Those were elements that were in the previous plan and have also been in this plan. Those have not changed. I agree. With that view, it was hard to understand that.
Yeah, I was talking more about the inside.
Laura, yeah, like you don't have an updated picture of what, like behind these walls, it's gonna look on the inside, the open space. You guys had put like a place where you can show movies or things
Yeah,
like
the
that.
whole nine yards, yeah.
There's 6 premium apartments there that block your view of the courtyard that was there before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, on the other side of these buildings is obviously the parking area, both for the retail and the residences. In the center of the courtyard area, let's see if you can see on this one, it's a little bit small. But there's still the pool area, the clubhouse, the fitness area, and significant open space between these buildings. So as far as, I don't remember seeing you said a theater?
Oh, they had just talked about having it outside, like a little
Open
stage
space.
and theater or something like that. Just ideas they were coming up with, but it
Outdoor.
contributed to that open space out there.
Okay.
And like Councilman Berry
There's
said.
still room for that. There's still room for that. I mean, we were talking about volleyball courts and things like that in this grass area. So there's quite a bit of room to do stuff like that. So it's not out of the question. I just hadn't heard it mentioned.
I think before it was just a little bit, with the old rendering, it looked a little bit more open to community, surrounding community, not just the immediate community, where this looks a little bit more blocked in. And I mean, that may not be the case, but it just looks that way.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
I got you.
I can address some of those if you'd like. Jeff Peterson, 121 Morgan Ford Place, Cary, North Carolina. And I have been here since the beginning, so I've been here since the very beginning. And I'd like to thank the planning board for calling this looking like the Queen Mary, not the Titanic. So I was just the Queen Mary. So to your point about the courtyard pretty much stays, the inside is staying the same, so a little bit smaller, but still plenty of room. We didn't address that in these drawings because we were going, we came for the major change, which was the the elevation, which was the street side.
Right.
So that's why we only addressed that. We didn't show the flyby and the, the animated thing, because all that pretty much stays the same. I think Laura and Wayne addressed pretty much everything that I would have wanted to say. When you asked about speaking to the neighbors, before we went to the council last time, and even after we went to the council last time, I did meet with several of the neighbors in Sunset Point. And they, one of them called me up and said, hey, can you come out here and look at this? They want to talk about erosion. But they had two concerns before the council and, well, at the meeting and after the council. Number one was that retaining wall that was 35 foot tall. I think it was like 118 feet off of their property line, which means then you got a 60-foot building. So that's what they would have been staring at. So by moving the building 200 feet in and eliminating the retaining wall, they have a much better view than what they would have had. So that was one of the concerns. The only other concern that we had from neighbors was walkability to their project, which we were not required to do that with council at the last meeting, but we told them that we would do our best to do that, and we are actually doing that. So we're putting in the sidewalks going to the Sunset Point, so we're expanding that the whole way. So that's the only two concerns that we had from the neighbors. We did not hear anything about colors or, we didn't have enough time to really do that, but I didn't feel like that was the major concern. I did want it to be a more suburban look than urban, and I felt like it was just, like Wayne said, it was more something you'd see, downtown Raleigh. It was not something that we felt fit in as well as this fits in, I think a lot better. But,
Okay.
and I think they addressed everything else.
Other questions or comments of the applicants?
I actually like the previous one, to be honest with you. I'm looking at the picture here. Second floor's got a water fountain and it's open space there.
Lighter, yeah.
That's my opinion. I like the second one, the original one that you had in place.
Yeah, I wonder if the residents would see, because they haven't seen these new ones. So I get the retaining wall discussion, but they actually saw how things have changed, what their comments would be. And that's in light of even some of the stuff happening downtown. We've had a lot of comments on the modern feel of some of the new buildings, and we're going through. Have you, Randy, have they seen any of our revision or know about the revision plan that has a lot of community feel and some warmth to it, and it would have probably different awnings, or, it feels much different than this building. This feels very institutional for me. And I don't know if it's because this rendering looks this way. It's just not warm or.
I really think it's more the rendering, because we did not put a lot of time in the rendering part of it, but you still got the same amount of landscaping. There'll be a lot of personality when it actually goes in. So.
I might be in the minority, but I actually like the second one. I think it does fit more with Holly Springs. I feel like with the first one, 20 years from now, it might look odd because modern would make it a totally different look and feel at that point, whereas I think the second one just would maintain its character and maintain its integrity with what's in Holly Springs.
The other concern with the material on the red, from what the team was telling me, was that was going to fade very easily, and it wouldn't look quite, be a lot of maintenance issues on that.
I like the second, the latest drawing. I just would love to see you guys add some of those touches to add a little bit of character, a little bit of, to make it a little bit different. I think that'd be.
I think there's a lot of opportunity for character and charm and individual pizzazz on that lower level as individual stores come in and have their own unique presentation to that street view. It'd be great advertising for them to.
We thought the expanse of the courtyard would also address a lot of that as well, with more seating, more pedestrians.
Another comment is we'll be coming in to present a gateway feature at the corner that's in design right now, and I think that'll help with creating a sense of place and a real unique community piece too. So that'll be at the corner as well.
Other comments or questions? Good?
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much.
Randy, the TIA was 2015. Would that have brought in all of the changes that the 540 could do impact in that area? And it's not there, but it's close to there. Would that have been covered in that timeline?
I would think so, but let me just confirm with Aaron, Aaron Levitt with our engineering department.
Yeah, I'm not that familiar with it. I can circle back with you and just confirm that it did include the 540 work.
I do believe at that time that the alignment was set. Was the alignment close to that particular?
It wasn't set, but I think we knew it was coming somewhere over there, but
Yeah, we did.
whether it was part of the TIA, I want to say, I don't remember, I can't remember who said it was, but.
I think it was, but I'm going to recall too.
I would think so. I think it'd be part of the background traffic, but you know, not having actually seen it, I would just feel better about actually laying my eyes on it before I say that it was. So if I could just follow up maybe with an email.
Yeah, we could probably either provide something in email or in the Friday briefing memo, give a bit more information on the TIA.
And I think that they've also decided to place the, sometime in the next 5 to 20 years, a new high school further down that road.
I've heard that. Anything else?
Is there a time limit on the TIA if it's been 2015 and we're not sure the impact of 540? Would you say, can we have an up-to-date one, or is that within our bounds for this?
Well, maybe also ask from the town attorney to pipe in here as well, but from a legal standpoint, I'm not sure that a new TIA can be required, or what would trigger that if there was something unique or different as it related to the I-540 alignment.
Yeah, I mean, so the decision before you tonight deals with facade modulation and roof treatment and colors. It just says you're not changing the density, and you're not having a greater impact. I don't think the site's gonna be have any more traffic impact than the approved plan based on the changes that are before you in what is right now a quasi judicial hearing. Define findings of fact that these changes are in keeping, with the ordinance.
And one thing that I do understand, if I recall correctly, the number of units is 310 was what was originally proposed, and it's 310 that are in this final design. So from a population standpoint, that would be the same as it was before.
Right. Sean, go ahead. Is that it? Good? Okay. Any further conversation?
I think for me on this one, the Northeast Gateway Plan is pretty clear about an emphasis on commercial in this commercial community growth area. And even though this project's located outside of the core, where I'm stuck is that change right in the front with the 6 premium apartments where we had the balcony and the seating and everything. So for me, I feel like as a passerby, the emphasis is more on the residential at this point, not the commercial. So for me, I don't necessarily think this is compatible with the comprehensive plan. At least what I'm seeing on that corner for me.
And I think you articulated, maybe that's what I was having an issue with from the first plan to this. It just felt like it lost the openness or the welcomingness of it, and it became more like a residential complex.
Other comments?
I do agree with that. The old look was, even though I wasn't a fan of the red and everything like that, it was different, and it was more open and more inviting. This kind of looks like you're looking at kind of boxes. And the commercial is not emphasized as much, I don't think, in the new design, but yeah.
Anything else? Hearing none. So I want to tackle motion number, there's 2 motions to consider. This is one of them.
need
Are
to
we-
discuss it more, or
Up to you.
are you ready to?
I mean, I guess the applicant's hearing some more feedback from other people now. Would they be interested in maybe coming back with some other ideas to kind of bridge some of the issues that we're having?
Don't know.
I agree with Councilman Dan. I mean, I do like the original that we had approved back in 2017. I understand the color of, the red color can be challenging. But again, what Councilman Berry had stated, that gateway there and what they presented back in 2017 is very unique there. And you know, with the water fountain on the second floor and the open space there. So that's kind of where I am as well with Councilman Berry.
I'd like to see more of a compromise between, at that, specifically at that gateway,
Yeah.
between the two. I'm all for compromise.
I would recommend tabling it.
How's the
If
board
you
feel?
all-
I-
If they're gonna make,
All right,
That's why I asked, because I thought that, yes,
okay.
I would like them to have the opportunity to do that.
So want to make a motion? Table. Sure. Yeah, that's true. We can put that in motion too.
I don't know, we've already approved the original plan. So couldn't they start their work on that, correct? Or no?
As far as the civil comments, I don't know, I don't think the pads changed, I don't know if anything here changes the horizontal, work that needs to be done.
So there was a condition of approval on the original plan that said that they could not, or that building permits had to be issued for the corner buildings first. So that's really the only limitation on development plan, and that building permits couldn't be approved until the elevations were approved by town council. So site work, they have development plan approval for, and they could move forward with that. There are no conditions on the original plan approval that said that they could not. They just can't start pulling building permits until these elevation modifications are complete.
Yes?
So that means he can maybe be able to do that.
Yeah, that was a question, correct?
Yeah.
Motion to defer major amendment to Development Plan 16-DP-17-A02 for Peterson Station at Sunset Lake with the conditions stated in the packet.
Second.
Motion been second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. I'm thinking that's what we need.
Councilman, just a clarification on your motion doesn't really defer with conditions. What that says is just a deferral.
Of the,
Okay. We good?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Let's zip on to Agenda 9B, Development Plan 19 DP03 Ferguson Warehouse Center. And that would be Sean and Rachel again.
The next item on the agenda is a request for a development plan and the associated waivers and alternate compliance applications. So this evening you'll have a motion on the waiver applications and then a motion on the development plan petition. So this project is located along Green Oaks Parkway, just south of the intersection of Premier Drive and Green Oaks. It's located adjacent, just to the east of the Securus facility and across the street from Home Center. Proposed is an 89,200 square foot warehouse and wholesale facility with room for 36,000 square feet of future addition. There's an outdoor storage area of approximately 1.63 acres to the far west of the site. Just to orient you a little bit better, here's Green Oaks Parkway along the top. The applicant will be constructing a new public street to access the property, which will come down here and provide access to adjacent properties in the business park. And then access to the property will be from that new street. The applicant is requesting a waiver of our parking requirements. We allow up to 110% of our parking requirements by right. However, an applicant can choose to go up to 150% of that requirement with a waiver approved by the town council. So the applicant is requesting to go up to 147.5%. Also for waiver, request for the location of the loading spaces. As you can see, the loading is to be on the south side of the building. It is visible from this new public street, so in order to have the loading along that facade, a waiver is required. This is the proposed landscaping plan. The project meets all of our landscaping requirements. There is a large preservation area. Although preservation is not required in our industrial zoning districts, the applicant has provided this large preservation area. It is a stream buffer, but it will preserve the wooded feel of Green Oaks Parkway that currently exists. There is a higher level of evergreen screening that's required around the outdoor storage area to further screen that from view. These are the proposed building elevations. The larger elevation on the bottom is the facade that will face the new public street. This is the primary front elevation. As you can see, the applicant has provided windows as well as variation in materials, awnings, and decorative light fixtures. The other facades all use the same material and color palette. So there are 4 waivers that go along with the architecture of this building. For a waiver of all of our primary facade requirements on the west facade, this is the facade on the top of your screen here. And just to show you where that's located at, that's the facade where there'll be an expansion wall, so that wall can be removed once the building is expanded. And staff is recommending, if council agrees to that waiver, a condition of approval that the final facade on that west facade has to meet our primary facade requirements. Also, a request for facade modulation, roofline variation, and building bays. And I will let the applicant get a little bit further into the explanation of their waiver requests. And with that, I'll invite Rachel Jones with our engineering department to go over the engineering requirements for this project.
Thank you. Hi, Rachel.
Good evening. All right, so on the screen before you is the utility plan that was submitted as part of this project. All of the engineering requirements for utility connection and extension have been met. You can see in the new road that's being constructed with the project, there will be a new water main connecting to the existing on Green Oaks Parkway. And then, let's go back one. That will be extended through the site. There will also be a sewer main extension connecting from an existing manhole. They will route the new sewer main across the front of the property line, across the new connector road, and ultimately terminating here to serve this adjacent upstream property as well. Although the project does not need the use of reclaimed water at this time, they will also provide a reclaimed water main extension down the new connector street and provide that access for future development of the adjacent properties. So Sean touched on part of this on the site plan before you and in your packets. There will be a new connector street constructed with 5-foot sidewalk on each side. From that connector street, the access will be provided here, and stubs to adjacent properties will also be provided for future development. Along the property frontage on Green Oaks Parkway, an 8-foot sidewalk will be constructed with this project. And although the warehouse trip generation did not trigger a full traffic impact analysis, we did request a traffic assessment report, just a little bit lesser version of the TIA due to the threshold. It was around 300, I think, trips a day. So they did review 3 different intersections Greenix Parkway and the bypass, the new intersection here with the new two-lane connector street, and the intersection at Greenix Parkway and New Hill Road. So from that study, a fee in lieu of the traffic signal here at the New Hill and Greenix Parkway intersection was identified. So that fee is proportionate to the impact of the project. And also a left turn lane will be provided on Greenix Parkway into the new site drive here. So this is also found in the plan set and is a little bit more detail as far as the road improvements. So you'll see the left turn lane from Greenix Parkway that will provide access to the new connector street. There's existing median there today that the developer will have to cut a part out and then restore to the existing, and they will have a full access available there. Okay, I'll turn that over to our planning board representative to discuss those items with you.
Any questions of Rachel before she leaves? Yes, we're good. Thank you.
So the planning board, as Rachel said, the first thing we discuss always is the TIA. She said the threshold was not met for the full TIA, but you can see that they are planning to do some traffic improvements for the roadways. The other thing we talked about with the board was why the need for so many waivers for this building. And basically the staff sort of educated us to the fact that a building of this scope and scale, 200 by 450 feet, just doesn't normally fit into our normal UDO, and so that's the reason for all the waivers. So this is not unusual. We talked about parking. Parking for Ferguson, they based their parking concerns and allotment on their previous warehouses, which they have a lot of other warehouses. So they're quite familiar with the requirements for parking, and that's the reason for that. And also the one thing was the building, the one elevation on the building, which is a bit different, is built for future expansion. And the applicant assured us that almost every time they've built a warehouse somewhere, they're almost beginning to do the expansion before the initial building is finished. So that's what, and then the board did vote, we voted 9-0.
Questions, Ernie? Good?
They're good.
Thank
you again.
Thanks, Ernie.
Thank you.
And I will invite the applicant up to go through their
Please.
presentation.
Again, name and address, please.
My name is Mark Smith. I'm with McKimmon Creed, 305 South Moore Oaks Court, Cary, North Carolina, 27518. I just found out that Mr. Peterson must be my neighbor, so he's in the same subdivision. First of all, I step up behind Sean and Rachel. Sometimes I just want to say ditto and sit down. They did such a good job of presenting the project. They've been really helpful to work with us, and I appreciate all the effort they put into it. Same with Irina and all the support she's given us. So my goal today is to tell you a little bit about the company as a whole, Ferguson. I've had the privilege of working with them as a consultant for 25 years, most of my career. I'll tell you a little bit about the facility and its operations, the project site plan, the landscape plan, the off-site improvements as we talked about, and the architectural details. So I'd like to introduce our project team represented here today. We have Keith Vincent. He's a senior project manager with Ferguson. He drove down from Newport News today in their headquarters. Senior project management is probably an understatement as to what he does. He's been there since I've known Ferguson, and he continues to take on responsibility, so we're glad to have him here tonight. Also, we have Sam Franklin, senior project architect with Triad Design. He'll be talking about some of the waiver requests and the work he's done. Don Bataille, who is with McKimmon Creed. My job is to take most of the rewards for his hard efforts, and I do a really good job at that. So Don's done a lot of work on this project, and I appreciate that. And then Ronald Stevenson. So I'll tell a quick story. I woke up this morning at 5:30. Evidently, I'm the only one that knows how to feed my dog the pre-mixed food and just put it into the container. My wife must like me to serve the dog better. So while I was up, I thought about Rhino. I said, I haven't invited Rhino to our meeting tonight in case we get any questions. So I texted Rhino. I said, Rhino, are you going to be there tonight? And Rhino texted back almost immediately. He said, sure, unless somebody tells me not to. And I said, that's probably the dumbest thing I'll do all day long. Who would miss an opportunity to be able to bill 3 clients at one time and probably not have to say anything tonight? So he's done a really good job of sitting there, and hopefully he won't have to answer any hard questions, and I'll probably take him to dinner after this. So
That's
he's
very clever.
a valuable part of our team.
His cot's right next to mine in the back, so we see him pretty frequently.
So this is the headquarters. I'll tell you, Keith's office is up in this top right-hand corner. I think that's your window right there, Keith. Is that correct? 1 floor down. I used to say the more important you were, the higher you got. But Keith told me as a facilities guy, it's just closer to the roof access in case they experience a leak. So that's why he's up there. So Ferguson is headquartered in Newport News. They're a supplier of commercial and residential plumbing supplies. They have 1,400 locations. A lot of those are their retail stores that we probably bought our toilets, our sinks, our fixtures from. Most of those are probably leased. They have 27,000 associates with their company. They're really looking forward to expanding their operations in the Triangle. They have a similar operation over off Yonkers Road. This will supplement that facility. So they are the largest U.S. distributor of plumbing supplies. They're the 3rd largest distributor of industrial and HVAC products. They have 10 distribution centers located throughout the United States. I've had the privilege to walk onto all those sites with the site location team as a greenfield. This is more of a branch. It's as we say, 90,000 square feet. The distribution centers are typically in the 4 to 5 to 600,000 square foot range. They'll supply product to these facilities. These facilities will supply product to the local market, to the contractors and such. So as we move to the project site plan, obviously it's off Green Oaks Parkway. We have 19 acres. It's bordered on Securus by 2 sites. I did have the opportunity to meet with Securus during this project, and they seem very favorable. Obviously, we talked about roadway access and access to the lower property, and we got their approval on, obviously, the site plan that we are presenting here tonight. It is a wooded site currently. We plan to put a lot in conservation. We have almost 60 foot of relief across the site. So as you can imagine, we will end up with some retaining walls. I think that's very evident in this industrial park. If somebody can figure out how to do it without retaining walls, they're probably a little smarter than me. So it's been a tough site. We do have 2 front yards. We're building the new public roadway, and we have the front yard off Green Oaks Parkway. So that posed some challenges for us to deal with 2 front yards, which we'll talk a little bit in our waiver request. We are going to build the non-residential collector public roadway, 59-foot right-of-way, 35-foot back-to-back that you'll see in front of the project on the site plan when we move to that. We were required 10% minimum for open space. We've actually doubled that. We're going to have over 20% open space. It is passive open space, but we'll have 20% passive open space with this project. We are excluded from the tree ordinance by right. So here's our site plan. So we have approximately 8,600 square feet of office. We have about 4,700 square feet of wholesale area, and we have about 76,000 square feet of warehouse. So what happens, the wholesale area is the area that the contractors come into mainly in the mornings to pick up their products, and then they'll discharge. So you'll see a heavy flow of traffic coming in with the contractors loading up, but that traffic does continue throughout the day. So there's a wholesale counter that they'll be selling from. So we talked about the parking spaces, Sean did. We're asking for 90 parking spaces. That's one of our waivers of the off-street parking. The 147% requirement is without the future expansion. The 127% would be the number after the expansion. Now, I probably overcommitted. Keith will give me a hard time here later. But I'll tell you my experience with Ferguson. We just expanded the distribution center, or the branch, I should say, in Charlotte. A lot of these facilities do see, the reason we focus so much on the expansion wall and the opportunity for expansion is because they end up doing it. I have seen pavement not even cured when we're out taking it out again to do the expansion. Not committing that on this project by any means, but it's very likely based on past track record. So we have 16 loading docks where trucks will come in and out. We have a pretty light truckload compared to our big DCs. We're probably 10 to 15 trucks a day. Our big distribution centers handle, when I say big, the distribution center, they probably handle 75 trucks in and out a day. So we did engage Ramey Kemp to do a TAR. Now that I understand it's less than a TIA, I'm going to be looking for a refund back from Ronald. I don't think he charged me for the TAR and maybe the TIA, so I'll work with him after the meeting. We do currently have 1 acre of outdoor storage yard. Our storage height is limited to the fence height, which is 10 feet, and we plan to maintain that. The storage yard can be expanded in the future by a little more than a ½ acre. It is adequately screened in accordance with your guidelines. So Ferguson is very clear they're laying out the pipe yard actually today and tomorrow internally up in Newport News, and I've made them aware of the requirements associated with screening and where they could put material and where they could not put material, so they understand their limits of the storage yard. The phase 2 is about 36,000 square feet expansion opportunity. We are fenced and secured. We have a gate up front. We're limited to a 6-foot decorative fence, but it will be a gate. It'll be open in the morning and most likely closed at the end of the day. As I talked about, we have 2 front yards. The second waiver that we were asking for from a site standpoint was the building orientation waiver. As you can see, with a front yard here and a front yard along Green Oaks, we are not 90 degrees. We do have adequate landscaping that we're putting in here, but it was just really tough with this draw and 20-foot ravine coming through here. We do have all the natural screening. We do not think that that will be an apparent, obviously, view from Green Oaks Parkway. And we felt like the orientation of the building and the site constraints primarily forced us into asking for that waiver. But we do not think it would be an unsightly look through the docks, because you're only talking about a few docks in here that you would see from that orientation. So the landscape plan, we're using existing vegetation. We're keeping that up along Green Oaks Parkway as much as we can. And we are protected on the west and the south side. The BMP will be screened. The parking is screened with evergreen shrubs and trees, obviously, as you can see. The new roadway, we're planning the new roadway street trees, so I think it'll be a nice roadway coming in, good access for, obviously, future development to the 3 parcels that are joining us. We were not able to meet our foundation planning because with a loading dock, a distribution center, I've not done one in my career or seen one done where you can plant this wall with foundation planning. So what we did is we provided alternate planning along the southern property line to meet those requirements. So we are asking for a waiver compliance on the foundation planning, which I think would probably be typical with any distribution center. So the off-site improvements Rachel mentioned, we're going to put a left turn lane in on Green Oaks Parkway to facilitate a safe traffic movement. Obviously, there's the study included the adjacent intersections, and I think Ronald's report was very adequate with the traffic counts and the low impact that we'll have on the site. Even though we weren't triggered to do a full TIA, we wanted to go ahead and engage Ramey Kemp, who's worked with us on those facilities, to make sure we had a safe entrance. We have a 150-foot storage lane and a 100-foot taper is what we'll be putting out there. So with that, I'll let Sam talk a little bit about the architectural elevation.
Good evening, Council. Sam Franklin, Senior Architect with Triad Design Group, 4807C, Coger Boulevard in Greensboro. Let me present the facades to you, and I'll start with the east elevation, which is, it's going to be the employee entrance to the office space. You can see that we have some punched openings along the first floor. First let me start off by saying we're using premium materials around the entire building. You won't find that in a lot of warehouse facilities we actually have 4 primary facades, basically having two street fronts. So with that said, we're using architectural metal panels, which are the premium metal panels, not a typical metal building metal panel. These will be flat architectural metal panels in these areas. And we have a base, a 10-foot high base of split face block all the way around the building, except for on our expansion wall. And then we have some infill areas, these vertical elements, which will be ground face block. So it's just a smoother face architectural concrete block in those areas. We're using earth tones, which is required by the UDO, a darker brown for the base, and then some lighter areas, a sandstone color for some of these vertical architectural metal panels. On the east facade, again, it's the office area, so it's addressing that with some storefront entry. We have some daylight, some shading devices above the windows, and we have some lighting sconces in between the windows to provide a pedestrian scale along that elevation. As we turn to the south elevation, you'll see on the right side, this is the wholesale area where the contractors will enter. So there's a bit of storefront there as well with an entryway. As you go along towards the west, you'll see our truck docks. We are breaking up that expanse with some vertical elements, which are the ground face block. Up high, we have some windows to bring in some natural light, and there's some louvers as well for some natural ventilation. As we move around to the west elevation, this is our expansion wall. We are using, again, premium metal panel even on this wall. It's going to be, these are vertical panels, and so that's our. We're asking for all 3 waivers on that elevation. On the north side, the Green Oaks Parkway, it's very similar to the treatment that we've done on the south elevation, as far as we have on each end, we have full height concrete block, split face below with ground face above, and then we have some vertical ground face block elements to break up that facade of the vertical metal panels. There are required fire access doors along that elevation. That is just about up to the ravine. You can see our, over on this side, you can see our retaining wall. So this side drops off into to the retaining wall. So as far as the waivers go, the main waivers that we're asking for as far as the facade goes are the roof treatment, because we have more than 50 feet of continuous roof line on the north and south elevations. On the south elevation, not only is it our truck docks, but it's where our gutter, we have a single slope roof to the truck dock side, so we have a gutter along that elevation. And as you can see, these are downspouts bringing the water down off the roof. We are asking for a variation in massing because we have more than 30-foot long bays in the east, north, and south elevations. We do have some recesses between the metal panel and the block. There are 4 to 6 inches of recess. And then along the east elevation, it's approximately, these are stepped out approximately 10 inches or so. And as far as the facade modulation waiver goes, it's really due to the size and scale of this building. Along the north and south elevations, which are 450 foot long, we would be required to have a 13-foot deep setback that would be 13 foot deep and 90-foot long projection. And then on the shorter dimension, the east and west elevations being 200 feet long, in order to accommodate that requirement, we would need a 6-foot deep and 40-foot long projection. So just based on the functionality of this particular building, and how it's placed on the site. We just can't accommodate those steps in the footprint. So that covers the facades, and if there are any questions regarding the architectural elements.
Think good? Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So to close and make sure Ronald doesn't get any questions and wrap this up, Ferguson is a very, I think, a great company. I'm proud to be part of their team for most of my career. They have a huge commitment to their associates, but they also have a huge commitment to their communities. So I'll tell you, based on my conversations, they're very much looking forward to becoming part of the Tony Holly Springs community, and we hope for a favorable outcome tonight. So thank you for your time. We're welcome. We'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any further questions of the applicants?
How many employees do you anticipate?
So I've got some information. We went back and we looked at different facilities on the parking, but at this one right now, we're talking 70 to 75 employees. I got to be careful with Irene over there and make sure there are no commitments made. But there's probably 20 to 25 additional persons that will come at different times of the day. They also, this is going to be a facility that I believe it's called the Center of Excellence, that they're talking about doing some special training in for the region. So, but 70 to 75, and then the 20 to 25 coming in for, the wholesalers and such. And that doesn't include if they have a Center for Excellence or they do local training out of their other facilities. So they will have a training exercise at this facility too.
And these are first shift positions, correct? First shift?
Yes, the local branch manager was here that runs Yonkers Road for the planning board, and I'm going to try to hopefully be consistent with what he talked about. There'll be 2 shifts, but the second shift is really more internal. Everything's moving inside. It's not the trucks coming in and out. It's not the wholesale counter. But the 70-75 will be the shift, the first shift.
Okay.
Plus the wholesalers coming in, the other 20 to 25, where we're getting in that 90 range.
Okay.
Other questions?
Thank you for your presentation. I spent some time on the Ferguson website today, and I know your products, or I've used some of them before. My questions were more around the number of trucks, because I know you did a TIA for the area, but that means that we'll have large trucks on the bypass as well. So can you tell me again how many of those trucks will be on the bypass and about what time?
Yeah, so it's about 10 to 15, and if I'm going to pull that up real fast. I think I've got that information from, but most of the trucks come in the morning.
In the morning?
Yeah, in the mornings.
Hopefully they can do U-turns. Coming out of there.
And across, against traffic.
They'll be coming, against traffic on 540 there.
Yes.
Yeah, they're coming in against traffic.
It's important, because you've seen
Correct.
that traffic, one side does not move, and
Oh, I know. We've got other developments over on 55, and we do see that traffic congestion that you guys are doing a really good job to mitigate.
so 10 to 15 in the morning, so we won't see those trucks on the other side at 4 o'clock at night.
So you shouldn't see them, not to say there can't be trucks moving at all times during the day, but I think the most traffic is in the mornings. Yes.
Okay. Other questions?
I had one question more for our town folks. Matt, you know the tree advisory committee is working on our street trees and want to work with the town. They have a landscape plan. If we happen to change what the species are on the street trees or some of the plantings, will that, could we retroactively change this plan, or this is set and they'd be grandfathered in and we wouldn't be looking at new trees?
So essentially what we'd be looking at here is approving trees based on our current ordinance. If they decided later to come back and amend them, we would then pull up our current ordinance, and if that has changed and we've changed which species we're suggesting, we can update the plans based on that. I believe that Sean's worked with them on selecting appropriate species for these locations based on basically what we know at this point.
Okay.
So I think it's safe to say if it's not twice the price, and it's gonna be obviously turned into a public street, if there are different species called for and we had adequate time, and we'd be glad to change those species, provided they were in the same relative price range of what we were proposing today.
Thank you. It's a new committee and we're starting to really look at some of our street trees. So
Yep,
thank you.
fantastic. We've got a lot of good comments. Sean and his team have taken some away and added some, and we've worked with them really hard on the landscape plan. Actually, he's probably worked with us really hard, we should say. Yeah.
Other questions? No? We're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good presentation.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
What's next, Sean? Ready?
I'm ready.
Any further discussion before we go to motion? I think we've got everything. Okay, somebody want to tackle it?
I'll make the motion to adopt Resolution 19-23 to make and accept the findings of fact for consideration of and to approve Unified Development Ordinance waivers.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Number 2.
Motion to
Yes.
approve Development Plan 19 DP03 for Ferguson Warehouse Center with the conditions stated in the packet.
Second?
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Agenda item 9C, Development Plan 19 DP01 Holly Springs Long-Term Care. Matt Beard and maybe Rachel Young.
All right, good evening. Matt Beard, Department of Planning and Zoning. So the next petition for Holly Springs Long-Term Care is a request for a development plan as well as 2 waivers associated with the glazing requirements that we have for commercial buildings. I can get into a little bit more detail on that. Following the review, you'll be asked to make a motion to adopt a resolution to make and accept findings of fact for the waivers, as well as to make a motion to approve, deny, or defer the development plan and the associated waivers. So the subject property is located within the Southern Crossroads Master Plan. So if you remember, we had the Exchange apartments that are currently under construction on this property. The Lightbridge Academy Daycare is going on this property, and this was a 10-acre parcel zoned CB community business. The idea is to come in on approximately 7 of those 10 acres for this project and to subdivide the parcel following their approval. So the site plan is shown on the screen, showing the location of the building centrally on the site. One of the issues, kind of similar to what the Ferguson proposal brought forward, was multiple front streets, or street frontages rather. They have Ralph Stevens Road as well as the internal Southern Crossings Boulevard that was created as part of the master plan. So they would have to comply with all of the primary facade requirements that go along with those street frontages. In addition, because of the size of the building, they did have to meet the facade modulation requirement that Ferguson's architect was discussing about having the kind of the changes in depth and having these wings added so that we're not just having a box on the site. So the landscape plan is done in accordance with the Southern Crossroads Master Plan. They have coordinated the species and planting arrangements to match the Exchange project going on the other side of Southern Crossings Boulevard, as well as kept all of their plantings out of site triangles to maintain visibility, as well as other utility easements and stormwater ponds. So as I mentioned, the waiver requests are tied to the glazing standards. So for all commercial buildings, we require that the ground level glazing be in the form of storefront windows and doors, so basically floor to ceiling glass. As this is a more residential in nature project for the long-term care facility, they opted for a more residential style, and the architect is here to kind of get into more of that if you wish. In addition to the storefront waiver, the upper level glazing, they've provided these Bahama shutters with spandrel glass. They specify spandrel glass on here, but really the idea is to have it kind of mimic windows on the upper level where they aren't actually necessarily providing windows. So the requirement would have been for 15% of those upper levels on the two most visible facades to have 15% glazing, and instead they've provided none. At this point, we can call up Rachel to talk about engineering items.
Good evening. So before you is the utility plan that you will find in your packet tonight that shows how the project does meet our engineering requirements and standards for utility connection. You'll see the sewer main extension across the property line on Southern Crossings Boulevard that connects in this area to the sewer main that has been constructed as part of the Southern Crossroads Master Plan. There are also two connection points for the new water main on Southern Crossings Boulevard at the two entrances. They'll be routed through the site as well. Along with these utility connections, there were a couple of additional analyses that were required. So with the project, a hydraulic fire flow analysis was completed, as well as an update to the sewer study that was approved with the Southern Crossroads Master Plan. So just to touch on the points of connection and the site plan, we have two entrances off of Ralph Stevens Road. This entrance is a right-in, right-out, and then the full access off of Southern Crossings Boulevard was something that was approved with the Southern Crossroads Master Plan that will be utilized. And then the site access is coming off of that. There's a third access on the southern portion of Southern Crossings Boulevard as well. And then two additional cross-access points provided to the adjacent parcel. There'll be internal sidewalk throughout the site that will connect to the sidewalk on the public street along here. And an additional internal connection to this plaza area. So there was a traffic impact analysis that was approved with the Southern Crossroads Master Plan, which this project is a part of that plan. What was requested is a trip generation memo to be submitted by a professional engineer that did confirm that the anticipated trip generation was within the threshold that was previously approved. So I just wanted to kind of zoom out here and show you the area that we're in. Touch on the pedestrian access once more. There's sidewalk along Main Street here, and as y'all saw previously with the Stevens Tract Townhome projects, there'll be sidewalk along Ralph Stevens Road that will connect to the existing sidewalk. And then we do have the public sidewalk along the Loop Road that will provide some more pedestrian-friendly areas. And for road improvements, we have the Loop Road here that is being improved, and then several developments in the area that will be improving intersections. So if you have any questions for engineering, I'm happy to answer those.
Good job. Thank you.
I'll hand it over to Planning Board to discuss.
You had a busy evening tonight, right? Give you extra pay.
Big bucks, right? Okay, so obviously the first thing always we speak about is the TIA, And as Rachel said, it was within the parameters of the previous, so there was not really much to talk about there. As far as the waivers for the glazings, we thought that they seemed appropriate. We thought actually it was quite an attractive building, and we could understand the need for those waivers. We talked about parking, and it's a 24-hour-a-day, 3-shift facility. So parking, they said, can be quite challenging, but they're used to this. And they said that they felt that the parking that they were proposing was adequate. One thing we did also discuss was an EMS review. We're concerned about access for EMS in and out. And there is front and rear access from the building for EMS access. And so then we did approve it. We approved it 9-0. Any questions?
Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Ernie.
Thanks, Ernie.
I know I've gotten a lot of calls from some people I know and some people I don't know that said, are we really getting a long-term care? They're excited about this. And I think it's one of the challenges that every town and every city has enough of this kind of facility to take care of. People are getting older. I don't know myself.
We definitely heard that from the applicant.
Matt, on the subdivided parcel, assuming that parcel remains community business, just like the one as it's zoned today, if both parcels remain that way after they're subdivided, the type A 25-foot buffer between what would be 2 community business lots, is that the required buffer between, is that how we got to that one?
Yes.
And the only way that would change is if a more intense use came on to the other subdivided parcel?
Yes. Yeah. So, at this point, it's basically 2 like-zoned properties next to each other with, commercial use, the same way you would have maybe in a shopping center, 2 outlots next to each other. You're not going to have a large planting buffer between, one fast food restaurant and another, say. Not saying this is a fast food restaurant, very different. But yes, if the land use, if the zoning were to change, it would require a different type of planting. But as it stands, if it were to remain community business, it would be that type A landscape yard between the 2.
Okay. And if it remains that way and that subdivided parcel develops, then the Piney Grove Wilbon side would be the 10-foot type A 75, consistent with what's on Ralph Stevens?
Confirm that. Yes, it should be the same, yes.
Has the petitioner given you any indication as to why they're subdividing the parcel at this time?
We can let them address
Okay.
that. Yep.
Is the applicant going to come up?
Are they coming up?
Oh, yeah, if you
Oh,
want
okay.
to now, we can. I was just wondering if you had any
All right.
questions.
Let's have them present. and we can-
Okay.
Sure. As a reminder, name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Catherine McPherson with ESP Associates at 2200 Gateway Center Boulevard in Morrisville, North Carolina. So I'm here as the land planner, landscape architect for this project. We have our traffic engineer here, our civil engineer, the client, and the architect. So hopefully we can cover everything. So this is an aerial rendering of the project to give you a sense of the building with the roofs, the internal courtyards that are located here, and then other courtyards that actually open out into the exterior of the site but are fenced, so they're secure. Residential wings, this is their rehab center here, and this is their main office. There's a covered portico here for patient drop-off, people coming to the rehab center for drop-off. And at the rear is the employee entrance and also a loading area or a passenger, an ambulance needs to come and transport somebody. They could come here and access the building through this rear porch area. We're providing a community open space area here in a little courtyard that will then connect over into the other parcel as it is developed. As the engineering department stated, we are providing a right-in, right-out onto Ralph Stevens and a right-in, right-out on Southern Crossings Boulevard and a full movement down here also on Southern Crossings. Providing 2 cross-access stubs to this adjoining property, so as it develops, it can utilize these entrances plus whatever entrances are approved for it on the other roads. We have a small maintenance building located here for internal maintenance requirements, dumpster and screening that matches the building materials, the BMP stormwater control measure pond. This is our main employee parking area, and this would be more for our guests and visitors. This is just our team. So we are providing a cross-access easement all along the internal property line with the subdivided parcel. The gathering spaces and pedestrian drop-off areas as well. And the sidewalk connections, we have the sidewalk all along Southern Crossings Boulevard. And we will connect at all of our entrances and bring it up and also stub out to Ralph Stevens. So if and when there are road improvements done out here, there's a sidewalk connection already established for that. Utilities, again, we're looping a water line through the site. We have storm that comes in and drains to the stormwater pond. And then the new sewer line that is stubbed to, again, the adjoining parcel and then services our site. The landscape buffers, it's a 10-foot A75 buffer along Ralph Stevens, the 5-foot A20 buffer along the internal property line, and then a 25-foot C-type 150 buffer along Southern Crossings Boulevard. In addition, we have all the required foundation plantings and internal parking lot and street parking lot trees. I'll turn it over to the architect now to talk about the elevations.
Good evening, I'm Joe Cable. I'm architect with Principal Long-Term Care. And this is a rendering perspective of the front of the building showing the canopy, the reception and office areas, and the therapy area. So this will be a 2-level space with a track above, therapy equipment below. And you enter in this area into a vestibule. It'll look straight through into an interior courtyard that we'll look at in just a moment. And then, as Catherine said earlier, there's a therapy courtyard here and then a courtyard on the other side. These 2 wings here are the residential wings, and then the back is service for kitchen, washer, dryer, things of that sort. These are representative of our elevations. The front elevation showing masses of glazing, storefront in the front with the office sector on the left here. And then the corners, this is the residential 1-level corner with a 2-level corner in the back of the facility. This is the rear elevation showing the entrance, supply entrance and emergency entrance into the kitchen, through the kitchen area on the right, washer, dryer, a laundry facility on the left, and this goes directly into the dining facility in the courtyard area. On each side of this area, an extension, there are canopies for the residents to sit on the outside. Again, these are side elevations of the front showing the therapy pavilion, the reception area, and the canopy with the residential on the sides here. As part of our modulation exercise with Matt, we went through and realized that we had a combination of uses around our area, and so in conjunction with our scope, we utilized commercial elements, residential elements, as well as the retail elements to make an attempt to tie into the surrounding buildings and facilities. Max, would you like to talk about the operations?
I guess I would be happy to answer any questions about the operations. I will say that Principal Long-Term Care, the project applicant tonight, has been in operation for over 50 years now. We are a North Carolina company, continue to be owned by a North Carolina family from the Lenoir County area, Kinston, Greene County, Snow Hill. We currently own, operate, or manage 43 skilled nursing facilities in North Carolina, all across the state, multiple counties, multiple urban, rural settings, and we have been doing this for many years. We've been successful recently with some of our newer projects, and this is kind of the next version of the model that we have used and hope to succeed with in Holly Springs. And just for the record, I should have stated, my name is Maxwell Mason. My address is 821 Tinkerbell Road in Chapel Hill. And I am Vice President with Principal.
Question, what is the closest facility that's owned by this company from here? Can you tell us
The
that?
closest, so for reference, this 90-bed facility, the 90 beds currently exist in our facility in Raleigh. Near the main Wake Med campus. That's a 186-bed facility that we're reducing and relocating here. Our facility in Clayton may be a little bit closer than that one, but those are the two.
Thank you.
And just to let people know, long-term care facility doesn't just mean geriatric care, correct? It can be...
This is skilled rehab and long-term care. So this is what would be considered a skilled nursing facility, which is different from an adult care home or assisted living facility. This is the 24-hour nursing care, 365 days a year.
Thank you.
Other questions?
How many jobs do you anticipate with this?
So the jobs will fluctuate a little bit depending how successful it is, just because nursing is a function of occupancy. But assuming it were fully occupied, it's realistic that there would be between 100 and 140 jobs, full and part-time.
Can you speak to, they talk about the parking, and when you look at the plan, there isn't a lot of parking. Can you speak to how you've dealt with it with other facilities?
The parking was a big discussion, and it was in specific response to our facility in Clayton, which is set up a little differently from a layout perspective, but we would expect to operate similarly, and it has a rehab component, and we were under-parked there and have had challenges. So we have, my understanding, I'll certainly defer to the design team, but I know that a major consideration was to ensure that we didn't face some of the same parking challenges at that facility.
So you've accommodated for parking?
Unless that, it was, yeah, we have.
Okay.
Other questions?
What's the rationale and intent with the subdivision of the parcel?
So this project is regulated by the Certificate of Need Law, which imposes a pretty significant cost constraint. And in order to stay within the limits, the allowable limits of the Certificate of Need, we needed to parcel off the cost of the land to make it more viable from a development perspective with the state.
Do you own both parcels today?
We do.
So you'll retain ownership of the second one? And in the future, is it a future expansion if your certificate of need expands, or what would your intent be with that down the road?
So we don't have a specific intent. My company's owners have indicated that they do intend to hold on to it and explore development opportunities as I said long-term care, skilled nursing, skilled rehab industry evolves. Partnerships with like medical providers become more and more important, so we could envision some sort of complementary medical office or medical service development there that would help service the needs of our facility. So if I had to guess now, that would be my intent. But for the time being, the focus is on this 6 to 7 acres.
No, understood. My concern is that this is a pretty large facility. Once you cross over Ralph Stevens Road, you start getting into a pretty rural area of town. And by subdividing the parcel, the buffering requirement that's set out in the UDO is a little bit less restrictive, with the assumption that there's going to be something next door at the same intensity. Without that, or without a plan for it, I feel like the buffer that's going to be there is not adequate enough to screen against the road while we wait and see, what you decide to do with that parcel in the future. I feel like that buffer, in the absence of an immediate plan for that, could be enhanced to kind of screen the road better.
Okay.
I have the same question about the landscaping plan. If we have to change some of the trees, can we write it on that?
Other questions? Seeing none, good job. A needed facility. What else, Matt?
I have nothing else if
Okay.
you have no questions for me.
Any further questions of Matt by chance? No? All right, we have two motions, as I recall.
Motion to adopt resolution 19-24 to make and accept the findings of fact for consideration of and to approve Unified Development Ordinance waivers.
Second.
Motion been made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Number 2? Yes? Okay.
Motion to approve Development Plan 19-TP-01 for Holly Springs Long-Term Care with the conditions as stated in the packet.
Second.
Motion been made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Matt. Agenda item 9D has been postponed. That's been, I think all the board is in agreement. Agenda item 9E, new business, is the Board of Adjustment midterm appointments, and we're doing that a little differently this time. I think you all know that. I'll turn to Linda for comments and direction.
We received an email yesterday or the day before from Mr. Wolf asking that his name be removed. That left 5 candidates. The ballots were tabulated while you were going on with your meeting. Shannon Halleck received 1 vote, and Cody Loffridge received 4 votes. So I would bring up the suggested motion that Cody Loffridge be appointed.
So we need a motion to appoint.
Motion to appoint Cody Loffridge as an in-town alternate member of the Board of Adjustment to fill the remainder of a term ending February 28th, 2022.
Second.
Motion been made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Linda. Agenda item 9F, American with Disability Act ADA Transition Plan Update ADA and Grievance Policy J. Scott Chase.
I am Jay Scott Chase, one of your assistant town managers.
Yes.
So this evening, I wanted to give you an update on the Americans with Disabilities Act and our proposed transition plan for coming in compliance with the law. As part of that transition plan, I will be asking for your consideration for the policy statement and for the grievance policy. So as part of the purpose and scope for the ADA transition plan, we identify barriers in programs and activities that prevent persons with disabilities from accessing town services and infrastructure. The town is required to evaluate current services, policies, and practices and the effects thereof that do not or may not meet ADA requirements. And so this overall evaluation will include the municipal facilities, pedestrian facilities, and our complaint and grievance procedures. So how did this all start? Back in 2018, we were one of 196 entities without the state that received a letter because we received federal funds and having 50 or more employees. And so it requires us to be in compliance with the ADA Act and the Rehabilitation Act of '73. We did attend a workshop on December 12, 2018, and based on that direction from the workshop, 3 items should be considered in a timely manner. And those, number one, is name an ADA coordinator, which we've already named as part of our staff, and adopt the ADA policy statement and grievance complaint procedures. Upon adoption and policy of the grievance procedures and naming an ADA coordinator, the town would need to begin the process of developing an ADA transition plan. So this gives you an example of what some of the things that we'll be looking at as part of the process. These are not pictures of anything we have here in Holly Springs, so that's actually good. But you can see that some things we'll look at as communication devices. You can see where this pole to get across the street is sort of on a standalone island. So we're making sure that we do not have any issues like that where people can reach those with a wheelchair. You can see the raised curb. So what we'd like to see with an ADA compliant sidewalk is truncated device to get down to the street. So as part of this evaluation, which would be a good thing, we'll inventory all our facilities, including any detailed modifications that need to take place. To the extent any such service, policy, or practice is required, the town must develop a plan to make any necessary modifications. And the good thing about this transition planning process, DOT has provided a representative to work with us to map out on the plan of progress and committed to work closely with the town. So the good news, when we were looking through our staff that would work as an ADA coordinator, we were lucky to find Christy Moore as part of our team. She has an undergraduate degree in risk and safety and security, and she has a graduate degree in administration of justice. So she is an absolute good fit for our team and has a relative that has disability issues. So she was really passionate about being able to work on our team. So a little bit about the policy statement that I'll be asking for the town's consideration or the board's consideration tonight. The policy includes a general statement prohibiting the discrimination based on a disability, defining disability, and the town's commitment to providing reasonable accommodation, providing access to persons with disabilities, and ensure communications with the disabled are as effective as communications with others. Another piece of this, as part of the ADA transition plan, is the grievance complaint information. So it's a provision for making sure all reasonable modifications to policies and procedures to ensure that people with disabilities have an equal opportunity to enjoy all town programs, services, and activities. The ADA does not require the town to take any action that would fundamentally alter the nature of its programs or services or impose an undue financial or administrative burden. And consider this plan as something that we're going to be working on for years to come as we identify each part of our facilities in town. You did approve as part of your consent agenda tonight the space needs analysis. As part of that program, we'll be looking at all of our ADA compliance for ADA for our town hall and campus. So we've already started in essence on some of those programs. And really overlooking our landscape, I feel for the most part that the town is quite compliant with ADA. It just gives us an opportunity to make sure that we're fully compliant with ADA. And this is a living document, and we have to maintain the file for at least 3 years from the date of completion. And as every so often we'll update and have to complete it from the time we make any changes to the ADA transition plan. So the requested action tonight is to adopt the ADA compliance and grievance policy, and that is SH21. And I entertain any questions that the mayor and council has at this time.
Any questions at this point? I don't think so.
Just a general question, if we do find ourselves not in compliance, what kind of time frame do we have to get in compliance, and how do we fund that?
Well, the good news is that we've been talking with DOT since the process began, and it's to making sure that we make notification that we recognize that there may be an issue, and there's not a really particular time frame, is that we recognize it and we're going to present resources to get it fixed in a timely manner, but there's not a specific time frame. And the agreements policy lays out time frame for if somebody has a complaint about an ADA or about a facility that may not be in compliant. We have a specific turnaround time for that, which is 30 days as part of our policy.
Like Mr. Phillips said, if I could add to that just a little bit, I think what's most important that with the U.S. Department of Justice, what they want to see is that at least that the community has a plan and they're working the plan, and really that's one of the most core components. And so we recognize that some of these will take some time to address, but we'll put together a plan that will make sure that we're
correct.
So this doesn't change, like if a resident comes across something that, like those pictures you saw, something like that, what is the best way for them to report that to us?
Well, we did have but as naming an ADA coordinator, that will be on our website, and Christy's phone number will be available in our email address, so that there'll be an opportunity to call her and report that incident. And then we have our grievance form, for which we want to take down the information, and it gives us an opportunity to identify what that is and have good dialogue with the person that's coming in with the complaint.
And the same for us, if someone reports something to us, we would report it to Christy.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep. Anything else? Good? Motion?
Motion to adopt ADA compliance and grievance policy SH-21.
Second?
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you, Scott. Agenda item 10A, new business. Development Plan 18 DP 16 Holly Springs Place, Holly Springs Town Center, Pod D. Matt Beard.
Okay.
Planning and zoning.
All right, so for clarification, unfinished business, not new business. Okay, the purpose would be to revisit the petition for Holly Springs Place multifamily apartments that was deferred at the town council meeting on April 16th this year. Your request is to review the multifamily development plan as well as the associated waiver, requesting a reduction in off-street parking. The requested actions would be to make the findings of fact and determination on the waiver of off-street parking, and to make a motion to approve, deny, or defer the development plan for Holly Springs Place with conditions as stated in the packet. So won't go into too many details on it since we saw it recently, but the site is located just behind the Target and Holly Springs Town Center Shopping Center. We have the Andorra apartments going in on the north side. Site plan as shown on the screen. North is oriented to the right here, so it throws you off a little bit. Just to revisit the parking reduction waiver request, as part of that, they're required to show where they could provide parking if it became apparent that they were underparked in the future. So they've shown the ability to come into full compliance with our parking in that situation by providing parking areas kind of shown in the lighter hatch where the cursor is shown here, and then again over here. So we can have Rachel go over some of the engineering items that may have changed since the last time you saw it.
Good evening. All right, so since we last met on April 16th, from that meeting, there was a request for the applicant to assess more recent traffic information and volumes. As they are this development plan is part of the larger Holly Springs Town Center Master Plan, there was an approved TIA in which this apartment complex was planned for and approved with that TIA. However, it was discussed at the town council meeting that that was some time ago, and so the applicant has come back with an additional memorandum that addresses some of the concerns. So I just wanted to walk through on the slide that's before you the steps that have been taken by the applicant. So with the initial development plan submittal, there was a trip generation letter submitted that we would typically require of a development plan that is part of a larger master plan to confirm that they are within the previously approved parameters. So that was submitted and reviewed for being compliant with those requirements. Following the planning board meeting, there were some questions from planning board about the traffic generation today, versus what was previously approved. And the applicant was able to provide a letter that showed a relationship between the daily traffic volumes that DOT provides and use that information to illustrate that what was previously assumed in the approved TIA with the master plan did correlate and was actually under the threshold that was approved. So that was presented at town council. And again, we did discuss that it was from, I think the data that DOT provides, the most recent was from 2017. So what the applicant has provided and that you have a copy of in your packet is some more recent traffic counts that were taken in May of this year. And based on those traffic counts at the site drive locations on Bennett Knoll Parkway and Old Holly Springs Apex Road, they were able to utilize a 5% annual growth rate and grow that traffic in addition to the approved developments in the area. So just wanted to kind of highlight those steps that have been taken, and then I can let the applicant speak to more of what the analysis showed.
Questions? Nope. Thank you again.
So unless you have questions for me, we do have the applicant here tonight,
Yes.
or we can go through planning board. Whichever
East
you'd like to
Planning
hear
Board would
first.
probably, yeah, the
Okay,
feedback.
Ernie?
Thank you, Ernie.
I don't think I can really add anything to Rachel's comments. I know in the planning board, we were concerned about the data that were received from the original TIA, which we thought was not very relevant because of the length of time that had occurred since it was taken. So this new information that Rachel's speaking about tonight, I'm not aware of that, but I know that was our biggest concern at the meeting.
Mhm.
Anything else, Rudy? Thank you. Thank you again. Petitioner? Been patient, come on down. And again, names and addresses, please.
Yes. Mayor and members of the town council, my name is David Lastly, Piedmont Land Design. We are the civil engineers, landscape architects, land planners for this project. I'm here tonight representing Dominion Realty Partners for their approval of this Holly Springs Place project. You get me tonight because my business partner is enjoying a 2-week vacation in Alaska right now with his family. And as much as I would like to be there, there'll be a payback sometime in the future. As Rachel and Matt indicated, this project came before you on April 16th. The concern with both the planning board and the reason the project was deferred was because we needed some updated information on the traffic that existed out there, what was originally approved with the Holly Springs Town Center master plan approval, and the lapse of time that had occurred between then and now. It was put upon us to present that information, to look at it, and present it back to you tonight. I am not the traffic expert. Matt Peach with Stantec is our traffic expert and has compiled that information for you. As pointed out by Rachel, is that you will find that his findings that he had with that additional technical information memorandum was that the two driveways that we're proposing, one off of Bennett Knoll Parkway, which is located right here, and the other one off of Old Holly Springs Apex Road right here, will both operate at acceptable levels of service, and that's with the completion of the construction of not only our project, but with the completion of 5 other approved projects in the area. So we now feel very confident, I think you can feel confident too, moving forward with this from a traffic aspect. I have with me tonight our development team. I have Chris Gorloni, Matt Peach. Chris is actually with Dominion. Matt Peach with Stantec, and also Matt Van Dyke, who is with Kite Realty, who was involved with the original master plan approvals of Holly Springs Town Center. So with that, I'd like to leave it with you. We certainly would like your support and approval of our project. But if you have any questions of any of our team members here, we'd be glad to answer them.
Questions of the applicant? Or not?
Well, I'm glad that you did the effort for updating the TIA. That's great, especially if the schools around. I think that's really important.
I understand.
So now it gets back to the parking. Were you going to talk a little bit more about the parking?
I'd be glad to.
Because I'm still trying to understand why we would want to put in the
Right.
parking, optimum parking.
And that's a good question. So one of the things that we find, and certainly you can imagine, they would not be undertaking a project of this magnitude without making sure that they had adequate parking to support their development. We do quite a few multifamily projects, and one of the things that we've seen a trend of occurring right now is a reduction in 3-bedroom units. Right now, and I think the count on this one, and you correct me, but I think we've got 144 1-bedroom units and 95 2-bedroom. And what we start seeing is kind of an industry standard of about 1.6 to 1.7 parking spaces per unit. On this particular project, even with the reduction, we're looking at a 1.73 parking spaces per unit. So we feel real comfortable about the amount of parking that's being provided. However, as we mentioned, it is less than what the town requirements are. So one of the things we look beyond that, nobody likes to just build parking lot just to have parking lot. It increases the impervious surface area and stormwater runoff. It also requires us to grade out and remove more existing vegetation and trees. And it also results in less pollution if we can reduce the amount of impervious surface areas. This site has been what we call topographically challenged. It has a lot of topography on it. Those areas are in some areas where there's very steep terrain, and it's just one of those items that say, listen, why are we building this when it's not really needed? So that's why we've taken the position. The ordinance allows us to come here and present our case to you to allow an exception or a waiver of those parking requirements. I can't do anything but tell you, you have to kind of trust a little bit that the developer who does a lot of these type of developments knows what they're doing. And we would not be doing this in any way to harm the integrity of the community. Now, with all that said, we're still providing the area for that in the event that all of what we're saying and all of our historical data is all wrong and we need more parking spaces. We have that ability to come back and construct those parking spaces on the site.
Now, one of them will need a retaining wall, or both of them will need a retaining wall?
Probably both of them will require retaining walls.
So, 2 years, there's not enough parking, but you've already built everything out.
Ex-
Let's say in 2 years, there's
Oh,
not
in
enough
2 years,
parking, and now you have to come back. Would it not be harder to try to put all of the retaining wall and build the parking later than doing it up front?
Oh, obviously it is. Yes, I think so. But it gets back to my other point of why are we building it to begin with? So,
Because that's what's the numbers ask for, I guess.
understand.
I mean, we have other.
We see a lot of.
We have in other groups that you go in and there isn't parking and there's not enough. I mean, the Ramcat is one. I think I've gone to visit there and there's not enough parking. So I think that's one of the concerns we have is you can't, if you can't park here, where are you going to park? You certainly can't park on Bennett Knoll Parkway or Holly Springs Road. So it is a concern.
I totally understand that. Of more concern than to you would be the owner of the apartments also, because I can't think of a quicker way to not get tenants. And,
Right, if they're charging a premium.
Charge
You're
them, yeah.
gonna wanna have at least a parking spot there, I get that. I do appreciate you, last meeting when we, I'm sorry, were you done?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I do appreciate, our concern, as well as the planning board was concerned, was an updated TIA and, for us to make decisions that were, 7, almost, 10 years ago, the town has changed. I do appreciate you, going back and validating that, the traffic, this project can sustain and support the traffic there. So I do appreciate you reaching out to us on that. So that's all I have on this.
Okay. Other questions or comments?
No, again, I'll echo what Councilman O'Brien said and Councilwoman Kelly. Thank you for taking these extra steps to give us the most accurate and up-to-date data to base our decisions off of.
Anybody else? Good. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Sure.
Thank you for coming.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for sticking with us.
Thank you.
Okay, once again, Matt, anything else?
I have nothing else. No.
Okay. There you go. We got 2 motions, right? Okay. Tackle?
Motion to adopt Resolution 19-14 to make and accept the findings of fact for consideration of and to approve the Unified Development Ordinance waivers.
Second.
Motion been made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
1 nay. Motion passes 4-1. Number 2.
Motion to approve development plan for Holly Springs Place with conditions as specified in the packet.
Second.
Motion been made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
1 nay. Is that correct? Okay. Motion passes again 4-1. Thank you. Thank you, Matt. Okay, moving right along. Other business, again, I would be remiss if I didn't mention crosswalk safety again. I'm still seeing some improvement, but there's still a few that just don't care. And I'm thinking about this comment we had this morning, or this afternoon about, or this evening, about the dog and the speeding. There are diseases you just don't know how to cure. And when somebody sees somebody in the crosswalk and still comes through, the only way I know how to cure that is having a machine gun. I don't know what else to do, so we're not gonna do that. Also, I had the privilege of going again to the high school graduation at Holly Springs, and I don't think I missed any. And one comment that Brian Pittman, who did, again, an incredible job of moving almost 500 these along with speeches in an hour, said that these kids received over $20 million worth of scholarship offers. And we think that's we're not sure. We think that's a record in the county forever so far. And that's a lot to say about our kids in the high school. That's all I got. Next. Whoever.
I wanted to mention that, thank you, Councilman O'Brien, for helping facilitate a meeting with the Oak Hall residents that came to Town Hall. And I hope I'm not stealing your thunder.
No.
But there were two things they mentioned that I think are important that apply to other subdivisions as well. One, obviously, is the landfill odor impact that's still in the area and the issue that's causing. And with their request, I've reached out to Matt Calabria to see if he can come here and start to at least hear from residents, because I think there's a perception, and I read the last landfill report, the perception that the odor is only in the vicinity, and they start by saying, there's these buildings nearby. It's more than that, and I think we're still growing on the awareness of the issue that's being caused by the landfill. So I think it behooves us to actively start that dialogue and see what else they can do. So that's important. The second thing that came up is they also brought up issues with the new construction going on that's adjacent to their subdivision, and they brought up speed bumps, which happen to also tie into what the folks said at the beginning. So much like you had done with the great analysis of crosswalks, could we talk about some of these neighborhoods and the requests they had for speed bumps, and why there's already some existing? Can we do them again? Or what is the logic behind speed bumps that we would have in the community? And I'm sensitive to, and I've walked through Remington many times, there are not a lot of sidewalks. It's also a symptom of something I see on Raleigh Street with folks, that it's not like you're in a subdivision, you're in the downtown and people use it to cross through to go to parks. I mean, there's something about needing to look at the speed of things, the safety of things. I see people go through stop signs, and kudos to John Herring and his team. They have been helping on Raleigh Street to look at speeding and the stop signs. But I think that's another great topic. We would love to hear more analysis from staff.
What else?
I have a couple of things. Let's see. One, and this is, I know it's kind of silly, but our UDO and the colors we use for our buildings, that champagne color. I mean, I would love to sometime take a look at some of these things as we talk about different character, things like that. For instance, the new Duke building, I don't know, there's something about it to me that just doesn't, do you know what I'm saying? It just doesn't look like a lot of the rest of the place in town, rest of our places. I mean, I don't want everything to be so uniform, but I'd like to start to look at changing things up a little bit or adding things to our existing UDO. Also, I was wondering if we could entertain, more so for the gentlemen, a summer dress code for our council meetings, which we've done, I believe, in the past, like a polo shirt and khakis or something.
Second.
All in
So
favor?
I would just, I mean,
I vote on that? We have consensus on that
No
already.
Speedos, okay? I'm just calling that now.
No.
But just something, as we get into the warmer months, we've done it, like I said, we've done it in the past. And
So maybe we do that like in the month of August?
July and August, well,
July and August.
July and August, we have one meeting, so.
That's what I'm saying, maybe just the month of August? I don't know.
So,
July's not too.
just some,
Okay. I like the idea.
I
something.
think that's considered.
I'll take it.
What else? You want to make a motion on this at this point, or you want to think about it?
Do we have, can we just make an executive decision?
I think you can just do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And we're talking by definition, July and August, or just August?
July, I'd say July. We only have one meeting in July. In our workshops, sometimes it can be more casual. So I'd say July and August that we, unless we see the hot month, the season go into September, but we just be a little more casual.
I didn't know we had a dress code. So
No, I think the gentlemen, I think it would make them feel a little bit better that they could loosen their ties. Now, of course, if governor's coming or something, it might be nice to dress
Yeah, there
back
might
up,
be
but-
some circumstances.
Right, but I think for the next 3 meetings, give you guys a
We
break.
just have an implied dress code. We don't really have a dress code.
Right, right.
Does that apply to staff, as I watched Daniel standing back?
Yeah, I know.
As well?
I think it's,
That's up to-
across the
Yeah.
board, kind of.
Yeah.
Lead by example.
It
Right,
would, yeah,
right.
it'd only be fair, I think,
Yeah.
too.
Okay.
Okay, July and August. Who else? Good. Managers report.
Great. Thank you, Mayor and members of council. Real briefly, it's been great being with you tonight, and we'll also have another opportunity to do this tomorrow night, a little bit different setting for a workshop. We've got 3 items planned for tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. in the Holloman Room. A quick update on the land use plan work that we're doing, and then we'll get into an affordable housing primer, and then a third item related to the Parks and Recreation Potential Parks Bond Project. So we'll have that tomorrow evening. Look forward to seeing you again at 6 p.m.
Okay. Any questions on that? No? No. All right, Counselor?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor and Council, I've received a request for an update as to the town's class action lawsuit, Curran et al. Versus Town of Holly Springs, so I can update you on that. I've also received a request to discuss potential litigation matter with respect to a Lot 901 in Holly Glen, Cornbaugh, that's the name of the family, who has a greenway easement on their property. And the manager would like to discuss, a third topic is to discuss some negotiating parameters for the acquisition of real estate with respect to the location of a new public works facility. So the first 2 matters are to preserve the attorney-client privilege under subsection 3 of NC Statute 143.18.11A. And the third is discuss negotiating parameters is subsection 5 of that statute.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for staying.